In our opening headlines, reduction of taxes on petroleum products and general goods and services, highly anticipated in Wednesday's budget presentation by Finance Minister.
12 teachers arrested over alleged malpractices and ongoing basic education certificate examination.
Food and Drugs Authority endorses Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for children between 15 and 17 years.
It's a second no-show for Madina MP Mr. Francis Osu as Canoe District Court again adjourns his case.
And Uganda's capital, Kampala, hit by twin suicide bombings, leaving 3 dead and many injured. Hello, good evening and welcome. Time now for News Hour live on GBC News and GTV. And we're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. I am Dorothy Ajimai.
My name is Samuel Akwote. Jonathan Intinda, who translates the news into sign language. Now to our very first story. The Minister for Works and Housing, Mr. Asenso Boakye, has visited some communities affected by tidal waves in Ada and Sege in the Greater Accra region.
Last week, tidal waves along the country's coastline rendered many homeless and destroyed properties worth millions of Ghana cedis.
A fortnight ago, tidal waves hit many parts of the country's coastline, rendering many homeless and destroying properties. The most affected area is Keta in the Volta region. However, some communities in Ada and Sege, as well as over 3,000 residents of Anyaman and Aklabanya in the Ada West district of the Greater Accra region, were also affected by tidal waves. To get first-hand information on the level of devastation and also find ways of dealing with the current situation, the Minister for Works and Housing, Mr. Asenso Boakye, led a team of some directors from the ministry to Ada and Sege. The team first visited the district chief executive for Ada East, Madam Sarah Kubi, who briefed them on the incident. The minister and his entourage later visited the paramount chief of Ada and the Ada 4 chief before a visit to the affected areas. According to the paramount chief of Ada, Nene Kabukabute, the communities with all tourist sites in Ada may no longer exist if nothing is done to stop the devastating effect of tidal waves in the area. Nene Kabukabute added that a huge investment into the Songo Salt project is also being threatened by the choppy waves of the Atlantic Ocean. The chief executive for Ada West and East Assembly, Madam Sarah Kubi, and Mr. Samson Tete Mankpa described the situation as one that needs urgent attention.
Ada East is in between the river and the sea. We fall at the edge drive. So I have about 36 islands, and 2 islands have been washed away by this tidal waves. I think it's a climate change. It happens yearly, but this time it has been a serious It has been a serious disaster on our people.
The Works and Housing Minister, Mr. Asenso Boakye, said, though a sea defense project, an inevitable solution to these coastal erosions, this capital intensive, the government is working hard to find the resources to make the necessary investment to save lives and property along the coast.
These areas hold huge recreational and tourist opportunities for the country, and it is important that we continue to invest, and government will continue to invest in making sure that we protect the lives of the people, we protect their livelihood, and we protect their property.
According to residents, government must go beyond the rhetoric and commit to the completion of the sea defense wall, which is currently stalled.
The Deputy Majority Leader of Parliament, Mr. Alexander Afenyomakin, has apologized to the people of Keta and surrounding communities for showing a picture purportedly of sand winning in those areas. The picture was to prove that the destruction caused by tidal waves in the community was due to illegal activities by the people. The apology follows an investigation which proved that the picture was rather from another country. Meanwhile, Mr. Afenyomarkin says he has filed an urgent question to find a permanent solution to the problem of tidal waves along the country's eastern coastal line.
On further due diligence, the very website, Cover Ghana, that published the article and accompanied the picture with it and dated it, has since pulled it down. It is only fair and proper to sincerely withdraw that picture and apologize for adding that as part of our findings. Yes, the temporary reliefs are okay, but we need to address the problem once and for all and get a permanent solution. Well, today I have escalated the matter a step further by filing an urgent question addressed to the Minister for Works and Housing. And this is the text of the question. To ask the Minister of Works and Housing when the construction of the Blekusu Sea Defense Project Phase 2 in the Volta region would commence, having regard to the recent rampaging effects of the tidal waves. I believe that as a house, once this is brought to the mainstream and the minister comes to answer questions, we will then be able to hold the minister's feet to the fire regarding the answers he would give, and then further push the finance ministry to make available funds to finance the project. So I am for real practical solution and not the partisan rhetoric.
The Canoe District Court, presided over by Mr. Oheneba Kufuor, has adjourned the case involving the Member of Parliament for Madina, Mr. Francis Xavier Sosu, to November 29, 2021. This was after the court announced that a letter received from Parliament through a deputy clerk, Mr. Eric Owusu Mensah, indicated that the MP was still away on parliamentary duties. According to the court, the letter from Parliament dated November 10 was to bring to the attention of the court that Mr. Francis Xavier Sosu, Member of Parliament for Madina, is attending the proceedings of the third meeting of the first session of the 8th Parliament, which commenced on Tuesday, 26th October 2021, and is also currently representing Parliament and the country at a conference in the U.S. The letter also said, pursuant to Article 117 of the Constitution, the clerk is unable to bring to the attention of the Member of Parliament a hearing notice as requested by the court. The court, however, could not understand how the MP could be attending parliamentary sittings and still be outside the jurisdiction of parliamentary duties. Mr. Victor Adaudu, lawyer for Mr. Sosu, explained that he was in touch with the MP and confirmed to the court that the Madina MP was yet to return to the country for parliamentary duties in the U.S. He told the court that Mr. Francis Xavier Sosu will be present in court on the next adjourned date. Prosecution led by ASP Sylvester Asari was not opposed to the request by counsel for the MP. The magistrate, Mr. Oheneba Kufuor, adjourned the case to November 29, pending the arrival of Mr. Sosu. The MP is accused of unlawfully blocking a public road and causing destruction to public property during a protest by his constituents.
11 teachers and a head teacher have been arrested over alleged malpractices in the ongoing basic education certificate examination in the Ashanti region.
The 12 were allegedly picked up at 2 examination centers in the Offensive Municipality of the Ashanti region and the Senase RC Basic School in Brekum in the Bono region. Ahead of the examinations, the Ghana Education Service had cautioned all stakeholders to desist from any form of misconduct as it sought to deal with perennial paper leakages. The head of YX Legal Department, Reverend Victor Brew, in an interview with GBC News says investigations are ongoing and the perpetrators will be sanctioned if found guilty.
The practice has been to allow the candidates who in this particular situation were not the initiative persons to continue the examination, get their statements on paper, and then take the necessary action after the paper.
The Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies, Mr. Peter Antipati, who shared views on this disturbing development, described as unfortunate the involvement of professional teachers in examination malpractice.
The ministry should be able to put in certain checks to ensure that resources are directed towards areas that are really needed and not because we would just want to allocate resources. So we just keep on allocating the resources whilst its usage is not efficient.
The Netherlands Embassy in Ghana has held a stakeholders engagement in the cocoa sector to deepen collaborations to help build a resilient cocoa sector in Ghana. The maiden event, tagged 2021 Orange Cocoa Day, focused on key issues including climate change, deforestation and loss of biodiversity, child labor issues and ensuring a decent living income to the cocoa farmers linked to the cocoa export price. Oforiwadako has more.
Netherlands is the largest importer of cocoa beans from West Africa, importing between 600,000 to 750,000 metric tons per year. On the other hand, Ghana derives over $1 billion in its kitty and employs over 800,000 farmers. The Netherlands ambassador to Ghana, Mr. Jeroen Veil, said that both countries have a common interest in the cocoa sector, hence addressing sustainability issues is crucial and timely.
There is a lot of exchange that needs to be done between the different government entities, between the private sector and the government, and between civil society.
The program manager for Solidaridad's Cocoa Rehabilitation and Intensification Program, Mr. Hammond Mensah, said that by the end of 2021, 51 new rural service centers (RSCs) would be established in addition to the centers that are functioning in cocoa districts.
Currently, we have a cooperative that has established rural service centers at each societies, about 30 of them. Now if you add them to the 51, we have about 81. Now if you look at the employment across these RSCs, we are talking close to 2,000 young men and women.
The Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, Mr. Joseph Boahin Edu, said that in an attempt to preserve the environment, tackle climate change issues, restore the environment and enhance the lives of farmers and their communities, the government is implementing programs within the cocoa landscape.
To promote sustainability in cocoa production, Cocoa Board is distributing shade trees to cocoa farmers and encouraging farmers to maintain at least 80 economic shade trees per hectare on their farms.
There was a panel discussion on challenges that impede productivity in the cocoa sector and market-based models that needs nurturing and adoption in the rural service centers (RSCs). The Orange Cocoa Day was facilitated by Solidaridad, an international civil society organization. It was on the theme promoting service delivery in Ghana's cocoa landscape for cocoa sustainability. For GBC News, Oforiwadako reporting.
Now, ahead of the second Global Disability Summit in February 2022, the Ghana Federation of Disability is urging government to take immediate steps to meet the unfulfilled commitments made during the 2018 summit, which include commitment to ensure the speedy passage of the amendment to Ghana's Persons with Disability Act 2006. The chairman of the National Advocacy Committee of the Ghana Federation of Disability, Mr. Alexander Bankole Williams, threw more light on expectations from the global summit.
In particular where Ghana is concerned, because our government unfortunately has not succeeded in sensitizing the various institutions that market so far as the various commitments are concerned, we cannot easily pinpoint the direct manner in which persons with life have been influenced by the Global Disability Summit. However, we can still have what we call accidental development as a result of those commitments that Ghana made.
In our special report, its location is the southwestern part of Ghana. The Ankasa Forest sits on a 509 square kilometer parcel of land. The rich dense forest is Ghana's most biodiverse conservation site with hundreds of plant species, birds and butterflies. Let's take a trip through the Ankasa Forest Reserve, one of the highlights of her trip to the western region.
Journeying into the ancient and magical forest was first by motorbike to make the tour easier, faster and to enable us cover an appreciable area of the 509 square kilometer natural rainforest. Opened in the 1930s, the Ankasa Conservation Area was formerly called the Ankasa Game Conservation Reserve and the Nini Shuhin Natural Park.
You've been kept down for much too long. Stand up, please, and say.
It is known as the richest botanical diversity forest, with its location in an area with the highest rainfall pattern in Ghana. Among the hundreds of plant species here are the kaya, bloody lily, the homa, buttress trees and ferns, among others.
The tree in front of me is known as Kutan, that's the local name, and the Latin name is called Uapaca. Why Kuntine? Kuntine in the view of is allowing its neighbors to take nutrients of the area, so it makes it very arrogant type. Yeah, that's quite Kuntine. But besides that, it's a very unique tree that helps lions to get to the top. And also say if you are being attacked by a wild animal.
It's an empty home.
Species of plants that is locally called insotop, and it's an indicator of the mineral resources in a very vast environment where this species is abundant in the area. This is cotton produced by the Cyber Tendra. And in the olden days, you used to stuffing pillows and mattresses.
Occasionally, one comes across birds and butterflies in this beautiful natural habitat. One spectacular feature of the forest is the bamboo cathedral, not made by hands, neither with the presiding bishop nor congregants.
It is called cathedral because of the nature of how it looks like. You could see the way the vaulted stands, and that this area also helped to to relieve heat that's sent. And early as 5:30, you hear a lot of ambience, calls of birds. So it's a very unique place to come, and you see a lot of things. If you go behind, you can also see monkeys. And the stretch of this bamboo is over 800 meters. A nice stream flowing under the bamboo forest. And naturally, you see the color like coffee. It's due to the various plants and various leaves that falls in. So it's being fortified. So it's very good to drink. And the name of the river is called River Equipy.
The nature of the ticket makes it difficult to behold the various animals in the forest, but with a little patience, one can hear the calls or sounds from a variety of species. It is on record to hold animals like primates, tiger, mountain elephants, antelopes, leopards and monkeys. So, one dreams of seeing such hiking through the thickets, but none at the time of my visit, except traces of them signaling their very existence.
A memorial service has been held for the 9 school children and others who lost their lives in the Canoe disaster in Saboba in the northern region. The children were pupils of the St. Charles Lawunga RCJHS in Saboba. A team from the Ghana Education Service, led by its Director General, Professor Kwesi Mankwa, joined the service to mourn and commiserate with the bereaved families of the victims. The team cautioned teachers who use school children as a source of labor to desist from the practice.
At the St. Charles Lawunga Catholic Church in Saboba, the solemn service, which was conducted by the Bishop of Yendi, Most Reverend Vincent Sowaboy Nai, saw family members trying to hold back their tears. The Director General of the Ghana Education Service GES, Professor Kwesi Mankwa, with a delegation from the GES, Northern Regional Police Command, and members of the Education Directorate were there to commiserate with the bereaved families. Professor Mankwa said the Code of Conduct of the Ghana Education Service clearly indicates improper use of school children as labor, stressing that it is a form of child labor. He said a committee will be put in place to investigate the incident and apply sanctions accordingly.
The first action that we have taken is that we've asked the regional director to interdict the head. There's a bit of it because the children lost their lives. That goes to the criminal part of it, and that one, it is the state that deals with you.
The Deputy Minister of Education, Mr. John Intim Fojo, said last Friday's disaster is a national one and must be treated as such. He presented a cash amount of 2,000 Ghana cedis each to the bereaved families. An elder of one of the bereaved families, Mr. Jesse Ngulbi, who spoke on behalf of the bereaved families, expressed gratitude to the ministry and the team for the swift response. He said the families are still coming to terms with their loss.
It is a tenable appeal, but it must, the outcome of this processes, the outcome of the court processes in the aftermath of this occurrence must not be viewed or construed as the president having the ability to interfere.
Meanwhile, the Education Directorate and the Ministry of Education have deployed a team of psychologists from the police hospital in Accra to provide social support to the bereaved families, survivors, and the school children.
You're still watching News Hour live on GBC News and GTV. We'll take a break here and return with more news. Please do stay.